Valeton GP150. Should you buy it? My take, if you are looking at anything in this price category, especially at other Valeton products, GP180, GP100, GP50 and maybe even GP200, this is the best option. I mean, it definitely has some minor quirks. One pretty big problem, like all the Valetons, but you can work around it. A few things could be improved, and the default patches, especially distorted solo sounds, are mostly broken, but I will show you how to fix them. The phone record feature makes no sense once you actually try it, but overall, I'm really blown away with how good this thing is for the price. So I will be mostly doing my best to explain why I think that you should buy this rather than the GP180, why I bought mine and how I'm using it, what are the features you might not even know you need, but you definitely do, and what this thing cannot do. And of course I will demo most of the features and sounds, both for guitar and bass, from sparkling cleans to distorted chuggy tones. We will go over how you can use it for practice, recording and maybe even playing gigs. So stick around for the full story or just use the navigation bar to jump around, and in case you have any questions or nitpicks, just leave a comment, I usually answer those. And of course, share, like and subscribe. So let's get to it. I've been using amp sims and multi-effect pedals since before it was cool. I guess since around 2001, and I went through a lot of them. Small ones, big ones, round ones, square ones, ones with MIDI, yada yada yada. But the one that actually had the most effect on my playing was Zoom 707 II. It sounded, well, let's just say that it did sound and not go into details. But it made me play a lot because it was super convenient. It was small enough to travel with, battery operated for easy setup, and had a built-in drum machine and looper for practice. It made practice easy and it made me practice a lot. And then one day it just died and I decided to buy something more serious. I think it was a Line 6 Pod XT, which was basically sort of like a Neural DSP Quad Cortex today. And while it sounded better, I ended up practicing much less. The extra step of setting up an external metronome was just too much in long term. Sometimes less is more and convenience really does matter. So I came up with a must-have list for my small rig that I can use to practice, travel and sometimes play tiny gigs. Number 1. Small size. This means less foot switches, but frankly, needing more foot switches is a made-up problem. Also, we have the phone control apps these days. Second, drum machine for practice. Anything with a beat will do. Number 3. Nice enough tone. Tone does not matter that much for recording as long as we have number 4. Separate dry and wet output for reamping, and preferably a built-in audio interface. I don't really care how it sounds as long as I can take the dry recorded signal and run it via any plugin I like. Number 5. Battery operated. If you want to record videos, this is huge. Phone, cameras, laptops, they all have batteries and you can use them anywhere, unless your multi-effect pedal chains you to the wall. Number 6. Expression pedal. There are two things in the guitar effect world that are totally underrated. One is equalizer and the other is expression pedals. If you never had one, you have no idea what you're missing, and please go and watch the expression pedal section now. And this thing checks all the boxes. So why do I think that it's the best Valeton out there? To start with, all of them are based on the same free plugin called Neural Amp Modeler, for short NAM. Oh man, I'm starting to get flashbacks from Saigon. So I tested them and yeah, they all sound super similar. Even the almost twice as expensive GP200 is pretty much the same when it comes to tone. GP200 also has no battery operation option, and also it does not have power over USB, so your phone charger will not work with it. It will with GP150. Also, this is how big the GP200 would be. GP50 is nice, but it doesn't have a drum machine or the expression pedal. And GP180 is a very interesting case. It has the same guts as GP150, with added analog bypass, and it doesn't have expression pedal while being more expensive. Like, hello? I'm sorry, but by all the means, GP150 should be the more expensive one. in a choice between an extra foot switch and an extra expression pedal, just take the expression pedal every single time. Yeah, I know that you can buy an expression pedal separately, but guess what? You can also floss your teeth after each meal, call your grandma every day, and obey city speed limits. It's not happening anytime soon. And you know what else you can do? You can also buy a foot switch for the GP150, and for another $15, you can get an analog bypass pedal, and it will be, unlike the one in GP150, actually true bypass. So, in my opinion, every sane person should take a pass on the bypass in favor of the expression pedal. Because expression pedals rock. You see, it rocks. So, why are the expression pedals underrated? What's the killer feature here? Is it the Rage Against the Machine whammy pitch shift? Or is it the wah-wah? I mean, you can't do any of that on the GP180, and the wah-wahs in this thing have the Q setting, explained in this video, which makes them able to go from mild to wild. But the killer feature is actually the humble volume pedal. First of all, you can do swells. Those are super useful in ambient, or if you want to get that violin-like vibe. This is different from swelling with your volume pot, because this comes after all the other effects. But most of all, the volume pedal is super useful when playing live. You noticed you are too loud? Yeah, like that's never a problem. You can move it back. You notice you are too quiet or going for a solo? Just push it up. And if you are worried that you will accidentally mute yourself completely, you can set the maximum and minimum for this thing so that you can go only from 70 to 100% of volume. Beside the volume, the expression pedal on the GP150 can control any parameter, or actually 2 parameters at once. So, for example, you can gradually go from clean to distorted sound. A foot switch will not do that. Or you can control the amount of echo or reverb. Or you can go super creative and have it control the time of your delay. In general, anything that can add, well, expression to your playing is great. Seriously, you need it, you just don't know it yet, and I'm ready to argue with any of you in the comments. Just bring it on. Oh man, all that ranting made me exhausted. Let's go over how this thing works and sounds. So, when it comes to using GP150, things are quite easy. On the back you have power supply port, which you will never use because it has a battery and USB charging. Power button. You have the USB port for charging and power, but also to connect to your PC or phone for recording and effects editing. You have the headphones output with microphone support in case you want to sync into the looper, I guess. And yeah, you will need wired headphones, like an adult. None of those walk iPads. Next you have stereo output, which most likely you are not going to use because amps are usually mono. You have guitar input, which, yeah, I guess you will be using this one. And you have footswitch expression pedal MIDI in, which, yeah, most likely you are not going to use. Now, there is no audio in case you want to play with a backing track, but this thing supports Bluetooth in case your backing track is on your phone, and it can work as an audio interface in case your backing track is on your computer, so it's not really a problem. Now, facing up, you have your master volume, you have the back button, just like in a web browser, but there's no incognito mode though. You have buttons to edit and save your patches, global settings, and drum machine. You do the editing with the knobs over here. The big pushable knob is for navigation, so it browses through the patches, and when you press it, you go into the edit mode where you can play around with the smaller knobs. It's okay, but you also have the Bluetooth button over here. And once you press it, you don't really need any of those. Just go to the App Store, download the Valeton Suite app, and once it's done sending your location and all your photos to Beijing, it's much more convenient. You can use it to edit every single effect. pretty nicely. You can change the order of effects if you like, just by dragging them around. You also have the patch settings for stuff like volume, BPM for the delays and the drum machine, and settings for the knobs and expression pedal. There's also a desktop app. It's basically the same as mobile, but it can also upload impulse responses and custom num files into the GP150. I must say that the Bluetooth situation is a little bit annoying. For some reason you have to turn it on every single time you restart the GP150. I suppose it's there to save the battery, but if they are so serious about the battery, why doesn't this thing have auto power off? I mean, if you leave it on, it just stays on until the battery dies. You have two footswitches that just scroll through the patches, and when you press both of them, you get a tuner, and when you hold both of them, you get the looper. One thing that the GP150 or any other Valeton effect does not support is signal chain splitting. But actually, signal chain splitting is really overrated. It makes very little sense in live gigs because the acoustics there are usually terrible, and any extra effect is more of a problem than a blessing. I mean, people most probably can barely hear what you play anyway. And when recording, reamping using the dry out is way more powerful. We will show you how to do that. Also, having more options in the tone setup may actually distract you from what's really important, playing. So, let's do that. Let's play and finally see how this thing sounds. As usually, we need some sample songs. But fortunately, I was cleaning up my attic and I found my 2009 New Year's resolution list of songs I want to learn, but I never had time to. So, I'm super excited to do this. Whenever you buy something like this, the first thing you want to do is to go to the For the Love of God preset and start the Shredfest. And for the love of God, this sounds pretty bad. There's like zero sustain and it's the same in all the presets. The reason is way too aggressive noise gate setting. Now, Valeton products are targeted for beginners and beginners didn't yet learn to accept the noise in the name of tone. If you have to choose between low noise and sustain, always choose sustain. Let's just lower the threshold, increase the release time, and yeah, it's much better. Now we need to set this thing up for recording. Obviously, we will use GP150 as the audio interface. Nowadays, even shower heads have audio interfaces, but Valeton stands out. It has a dedicated asynchronous input-output driver. Most effect pedals use the shifty generic one, and so do some dedicated audio interfaces. I'm looking at you, Behringer. When it comes to setting up the driver, just stick to the 4 millisecond latency. It's less likely to crash that way. Also, remember to set your project sampling rate to 48 kHz because that's the only one that it supports. When recording guitar, you want to capture both the clean and the dirty sound. First of all, you may want to tweak the tone after you are done recording. Second of all, you can also run the dry sound through a plugin to create an overdub. Sort of like a second guitar and get a much more massive sound. I have an entire video on how to do that here. So you go to settings, USB settings, and you make sure that one of the channels is set to dry and the other one is set to wet. And we are all set. Now we just have to connect it to my USB port and start recording. The first song is Crystal Planet by Joe Satriani. I started with the JS Iconic preset, but it sounded a bit thin, so I pumped up the lows. I will be recording the guitar in one go, intro and then solo. So I need to control the reverb and the delay. I want none of them on the intro and a lot of both on the solo. So I have set up the expression pedal to control the mix parameter on both effects, going from 9 on the intro to an epic 31 for the solo. I will be able to ramp it up gradually or go halfway on the bridge. For bass, I just used a finger bass preset. I bumped up the medium frequencies on the EQ, pumped up the compressor and moved the compressor after the amp. All the patches are linked in the description, so you can just download and use them. And now it's time to learn this song and record it. How hard can it be? Oh man, that was fucking hard. Why did I choose this song? I got like 30% of the bands right. My ears are wilting from all the intonation problems. But the GP150 did a superb job, especially on the solo. The rhythm section is like 7 out of 10, and for the solo section I would give it like 8 out of 10. For overdubs I used Guitar Rig with Joe Satriani preset because I'm lazy, but the GP150 sounds good even without the overdub. I'm not super happy with the bass. I didn't pay enough attention to both playing and the tone setup, so let's go bass heavy on the next song. Can't Stop by Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I started with a slap bass preset, I moved the compressor to be behind the EQ, and I've added a cap sim. Now, it's common knowledge that Mark King is the king of all the bassists, Mark Bass is king of all the bass amp makers, and Mark Bass CMD102 specifically is the best bass amp ever. GP doesn't have the model for the amp, but it has the cabinet simulator, so of course I went with it. And that made the tone work. Next I played around with the EQ a little bit to take it to another level. And okay, maybe it's not exactly Fleastone, it's not as aggressive, but it's more universal and it's definitely fun enough to play with. For guitar I started with Clean Funk preset. It was okayish, so I just slapped some reverb on it. It uses Fender amp, while Frusciante uses Marshalls, but meh, whatever. Now the original recording has 2 guitars, one clean and one dirty. I've set the GP to capture dry and wet sound as well, and this time I used Amplitube to get the dirty sound using a Marshall sim. So now let's don't stop until the song is done. Holy f***, that was hard again. I mean, the guitar part was okay, but just look at what practicing the bass pops did to my fingers. So, the slap bass sound is pretty nice, especially in this price category and with me playing. I would give it 6 out of 10. Why not higher? Because the compressors in the GP50 are so-so, and compressors make or break a good slap sound. The guitar sound is a bit of meh, it's also like 6 out of 10. It's okay for a mix, but it wouldn't fly solo. So let's dig deeper into pristine clean guitar sounds. Let's take one of the best chorus riffs ever. Now I'm pretty sure that you don't know this song, because it's from a communist era psychedelic kid feature film, and I'm serious, that was a thing. It's called Carrot Fields. I managed to get a nice clean tone, but it took a lot of tweaking. Most clean amp models just sounded boxy, like cardboard boxy. Now, usually you can solve this problem with a parametric EQ, but GP has no parametric EQ, only graphic ones. Graphic EQs are less powerful, but much easier to use. And yeah, it's a beginner piece of gear, so no wonder they went with that. Now, the amp model that sounded least boxy was a much less model, so I just went with that. Now, for chorus, GP has a model of the Boss Dimension C pedal that was used in this song originally, so of course I had to use it. At first I added concert reverb, because again, that reverb sounded the least boxy, but after recording the draft, I removed the reverb completely. Adding too many effects is a common mistake that you need to watch out for. Too many effects will usually work against you, turning your sound into mush. In this case, 3 guitars and the chorus were just enough. As the last step, I moved the compressor from being before to being after the amp. Putting the compressor in the beginning of the signal chain makes sense if you want to hide mistakes in your technique, but it's actually not good for your tone. It sucks away a lot of expression because it doesn't allow your amp and other effects to react to your playing. Now, I used a guitar rig for the overdubbed main guitar, but as you can hear, GP can easily stand on its own. Overall, I'm really impressed. 8 out of 10. Although it took about an hour of tweaking to get there. Now let's try to bring those clean tones to the edge of breakup, like me and my ex-girlfriend for the last 4 years. The song is Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer, and this time let's try to record just the solo guitar and compare the GP50 versus a real amp. So on GP150 we have the clean match model driven by a micro boost with a vintage rack delay and a concert reverb. In the other corner we have a Fender Hot Rod pushed with a tube screamer and Killy caverns for delay. Then I used a torpedo captor to record it via the RME Fireface. And it sounded pretty close. One place where the amp kind of won were the dynamics at the end of the phrase. The difference between the loud and the quiet sounds was kind of bigger. Overall, let's call it like a 7 out of 10. They both sound similar in the recording, but in the room, despite having pretty good studio monitors, it was no contest. The amps sounded completely different. Also, I didn't use a microphone to record the amp. That would make the recording sound better. I just chose the lazy mode. Now let's move to crunchy tones with some good old AC/DC. So, of course, I started with the back-in DC preset, but I had to fix it. For some reason, they didn't think a cabinet sim was necessary, so I added one. I used the same patch for the rhythm and the solo. I just rolled down the volume on my guitar. It's an old school way of controlling distortion without needing a foot switch. As for crunchy tones, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. It sounded as nice as Amplitude that I used for the overdubs. Now let's go heavy. Let's go toxic. No, not that toxic. System of a Down toxic. So now we need to know, will it chug? To chug, you need a high gain amp and something in the front to push it over the edge. I took a Mesa Dual rectifier model and I added an EQ with the mids boosted in the front. Now usually you would use something like a tube screamer, but with EQ you can precisely control which frequencies are pushed how hard for maximum impact. And yeah, it can clearly chug. Now, to get a super heavy tone, you shouldn't be pushing the gain to 11. Instead, you should have multiple guitars playing the same parts. That's why Metallica used like 3 to 4 overdubs for the rhythm tracks. I'm lazy, so I just added guitar rig with a 150 and another one with rectifier seam and spread them out across the left, center and right. And yeah, we are definitely cooking now. But actually, that was the easy part. Where I hit the wall was switching between clean and distortion. The intro in this song has a clean electric guitar and acoustic or some sort of mandolin. I just used pitch shifter to create something passable. The problem was that when you switch patches on the GP, it takes exactly 90 milliseconds before a new patch loads completely. And I know because I measured it. I've also compared it to my analog overdrive to make sure that I'm not taking the crazy pills, and no, I wasn't. Analog overdrive had literally 0 delay. Now, 90 milliseconds will work for songs where you have a pause between clean and dirty sections, but in this one, the distortion is supposed to hit you like a sledgehammer. GP200 and GP180 have the same problem. I tested them. The solution was to use stomp mode. Just press the right foot switch for 4 seconds, and you can use both foot switches to control effects in a single patch. I set up the left foot switch to simultaneously turn off the amp sim and turn on the pitch shifter, so sort of like switching between them, and everything was fine. The lag went down from 90 milliseconds to an acceptable 30. Now, as for sound, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Actually, that tone was better suited to that little doom-like riff I played in the beginning. That was like 9 out of 10. Now, originally I was planning to record this song in a park using the phone record mode. Basically, you can connect GP to your phone using a USB cable, and you can record the audio and video at the same time. Now, the reason I didn't is because it's not really a very useful feature. Usually, you are recording with a backing track, and when you record to your phone using the USB cable, only the guitar gets recorded in the video. You don't get the backing track sound. So later at home you have to extract the audio from the video you recorded and sync it back to the backing track, and that's pretty hard. It's just much easier to take your laptop with you, record with a backing track in your DAW, and then sync the audio and video, which is much easier. And if you say your laptop is heavy and you don't want to carry it around, well, you already have to carry your guitar, don't you? Now, they could have made it so that all the audio gets recorded, both the backing track and the guitar, But it would be even worse. You would get a single track with the guitar baked into the backing track, and I guess there's just no good way to get around this problem without a multi-track recording. So frankly, if you are looking into GP150 just for the phone recording feature, I think you should just skip it. But recording and performing is just 1% of playing the guitar. 99% is much less exciting. It's called practice. Now, there are three kinds of practice. Two that everybody does and one that everybody should be doing but almost nobody is. The first type of practice is practicing scales and licks with a metronome. And when you turn on the metronome in GP150, the first thing you get is a 4/4 time. Which is like, come on, do they think we are all Austrian? But I'm a drum machine kind of guy, so I just switch to 8-bit and let it rip. Usually I use clean tones without any compression for practicing scales and picking patterns, and distorted tone for legato and tapping. It works and it's super convenient. The second kind of practice is playing covers and learning solos note for note, and the third one is improvising over a song or over a backing track. All you need to do for both of them is to enable Bluetooth and play the backing track on your phone. And seriously, you should be practicing, improvising and jamming as much as you can. It's fun and it trains your ears and creativity. Improvisation is what separates people who can play songs from people who can play music, and that's a big difference. Also, it's very useful unless you are planning to play with yourself only for the rest of your life. Now, if you don't have any backing tracks, you can just use the looper. For example, I came up with this really weird riff some time ago and I have no idea what scale it is in. So I can just press both footswitches to go into the looping mode, turn on the drum machine and use the left foot switch to start and stop recording. I can then use my phone to edit and change the patch with the loop playing, and then solo over what I recorded. And maybe I still have no idea what scale that was in, but that hook was pretty nice. Now I just need a nice name for that song. Okay, so let's wrap it up. As I already said, there are very few reasons not to buy this, especially given the price. I mean, the compressor and EQs could be better, reverbs and delays are okay, but yeah, they could be better. There is the patch switching lag and the Bluetooth button that annoys me every single time. But the tones are really good, and yeah, most likely a top-of-the-line unit like Quad Cortex will sound better, but it will literally add a 0 to the price, as in 10 times more expensive, and it will sound maybe 20% better, not 10 times better. But where this thing really wins is the product design, software quality, drivers, battery power, USB charging. It's just a great piece of modern gear. And most of all, convenience. You just need your guitar, cable, headphones, GP150 and nothing more. All excuses for not playing are eliminated. So I'm definitely keeping mine and I'm getting rid of my old Moore G200. GP150 just sounds better and does more, while at the same time being way more user-friendly. And that's it. I hope you liked the video. Please share, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and hopefully see you soon. Peace.